It's time for school days. Helpful moms and dads with school-age kids.
I tell parents, you're like a training wheel on a bike. Your job isn't to make the bike move. Your job is to keep the bike upright.
Those of us who are the true educators, we really want to be given the opportunity to educate the whole child.
We can get free college degrees based on all of the opportunities that are out here and available to our students.
Oftentimes, as parents, I think we want to protect our kids, but I think one of the greatest gifts we can give them is allow them to experience adversity.
Yeah.
Here's your host, Danita Bailey.
Well, welcome to School Days. I'm Danita Bailey. Parent involvement in education is crucial. Students with involved parents have higher grades, better attendance, better social skills, and behavior. Parental involvement begins by fostering a good relationship with your child's school, but there are factors that can keep parents from doing that, including a host of issues like language barriers, time constraints, and just straight up fear. Yep. Some of us parents have fear of school too. But despite the barriers, there are so many benefits. And we caught up with a mom of two named Angela at Hawaiian Falls and Manfield. Here's what she had to say.
I learned pretty early on with my kids that it was very important to foster a relationship with their teachers. One great way I did this was volunteering for the various things that they would have at their school, whether it be room mom or different things with the PTA. It was just a really great way for us to connect and have a partnership. I felt like that kept the lines of communication open between us, and I was really able to get to know their teachers on a personal level. Not only did the kids love having me up at their school, but I really felt like I knew their teachers by the end of the year. I think this really helped my kids that both kind of struggle with some different learning disabilities because we were able to better come up with great plans for my children and their education.
So our show is actually born out of David's and my need to figure out how to navigate the school system. Both of our boys over the years have had challenges that require services or accommodations at school. And working with the school in the early years was earlier for us because we had younger kids. But as they've gotten older, things have definitely become more complicated. And as they've have more multiple teachers and at a time, and they've struggled with their grades or behavior or bullying, it's just become more difficult. So, David's been teaching for 10 years, and even though we were both in education, we still struggle. And we've not always known who to reach out to, and who were the people that we needed to speak to when we had issues. So on today's show, we're going to discuss ways to foster a good relationship with your child's school and develop a partnership with the shared goal of helping your child thrive. So before we go any further, let me just say it does take a village. If you hear a great parenting tip or nugget of advice, share it with your parent friends. Facebook it, Instagram it, tweet it, link it in, and add the hashtag SchoolDaysShow or hashtag IamSchoolDays. And we do want you guys to be a part of the show. So if you have any questions or comments, give us a call at 214-431-5062. So our guest today is Andrea Fields. She's actually been on the show before. And Andrea is a native of the state of Louisiana and is employed by the Duncanville Independent School District, where she currently serves as assistant superintendent of operations. Ms. Fields holds a Bachelor of Science degree from Louisiana Tech University and a Master's of Educational Leadership from Stephen F. Austin State University. This school marks her 40th, that's amazing, year of service to public education. Prior to making her transition to the DFW area, she was employed with Longview Independent School District, where she served as the deputy superintendent. During her tenure in Longview, Ms. Fields served as a teacher, assistant principal, principal supervisor, director, and assistant superintendent. Her favorite job assignment was that of principal. Ms. Fields is married to Reverend Albert Fields and is the mother of 7 adult children and 7 darling granddaughters. She's the active member of Antioch Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church in Dallas. So welcome back to the show. You are one of our first guests.
Well, thank you very much, Danita, and I'm excited to be back. That says a lot. I'm really, really humbled by the opportunity to come back again and spend time with school days. So we're excited about being here.
Yeah, we had a great time with you. So actually, before you even left the studio the first time, we said, okay, so when can you get you back?
Exactly. And what better timing, of course, as we're kicking off the 2019-2020 school year. I can't believe I'm saying 2020, and it's not a TV show. But
like a sci-fi TV show.
Exactly. I cannot believe that. But we're kicking off the 1920 school year, and so this is a great time for educators, and a lot of excitement and energy in the air with parents. And of course, our students are looking forward to returning back to school, some of which return back, I think, even on this week.
Yeah, David starts today.
Awesome.
Nobody's looking forward to this more than the parents.
I can relate to that.
All right, well, let's jump right in.
Yes.
So why is it important to foster a relationship with the school?
I think I'm going to just segue on some of the opening remarks that you made, Danita. Of course, we know that, first of all, parents are their child's first teachers.
Yeah.
And so education begins really at home. And so with that, we know that parents are an integral part of the success of their child in the academic realm, in the extracurricular realm, in the social and emotional realm. And so we know that parents are so critical to the success of students. One, we know research says that the more involved parents are with their child, and it could not necessarily always be a parent. It could be some other significant adult who is there, standing perhaps even in the place of the parent. But since we're talking about parents today, we'll focus on them. The students typically are more successful in school. They have more buy-in. They have higher attendance. Their grades are better. They're more socially and emotionally adjusted to school. And so having those partnerships, not just for the grade's sake, but really for the whole child. As I talked about when I was here before, we want a well-rounded whole child approach when we involve parents in parental involvement. So it's really key and critical to a child's success.
You know, what are some of the barriers that schools face in getting parents to be involved?
Well, I'll speak from the school side. Obviously, because I've been doing this for a very long time, as you shared, our society, our world has changed over the last several decades. We are more information rich, and many times not as relationally
That's so true.
Astute as we were, because we're wanting things very quickly, very instantly, and taking the time to sit down and talk. Sometimes people will tell us, I don't have time to do that. And so schools are cognizant of the fact that parents are working, and even if they're not working, we value that, because sometimes stay-at-home moms have their hands full, stay-at-home dads have their hands full, or they don't have the transportation, the access to get to the school. And these are real things in the society in which we live now, in the school, families, and communities. There were days when schools were community schools and people were able to walk. Now your zone may be several miles away, and so sometimes a barrier is just that, just the logistics of getting there. Secondly, some of the other things are, as you shared so poignantly at the onset, is that people just have a fear of coming to the school. Perhaps they had a very bad experience, and I've seen this up close and personal, where when they were in school, they had a situation. It was either, and it could be one interaction with one adult who perhaps made them feel a certain way about school, and from that time they've carried that the school is not really, they really don't want us there, or there are some reasons why they're trying to keep us away. And so those people sometimes come with some preconceived notions about what school is, and so it takes time for us to break down some of the barriers, hence what I talked about, the relational piece. Other things, just again, time, the logistics. Then sometimes people really just feel like we're sending them to you. You're the experts, so that's what you do. And when I was a school principal, particularly when I was an assistant principal, even at the high school levels, because I've been on all levels, I've taught or either worked in all levels in public school, parents would say, we'd call, we need you, and they say, hey, y'all figure it out. you handle it, and abdicating themselves of the parental role in what we can do to support the child. And so when we would reach out, many times they would say, between the hours of 7:30 and 4:30, they're your problem. You call whoever you need to call, or they wouldn't answer the phone. And then think about the economics of some of this. We have to be cognizant and sensitive of the fact that many times parents feel, they struggle when it comes to being as involved, because they don't think they have the funds to do it. But there are so many other options. As I think I kind of talked a little bit about this when I was here before, we don't have to have you as a member of the PTA for you to be involved in your child's life.
Right.
So those are a few barriers on the school side. I think we're really trying to make some adjustments with that, not necessarily having that traditional mindset about what parental involvement is. And parental involvement is not necessarily you coming to us, but it should be us coming to you. And we really need parents to be a part of what we're trying to do for the child.
So what kind of things is Duncanville ISD doing that's different? Because I have seen that the school districts are doing more reaching out. So last week we got home and there was a note from the school saying to DJ, this was the intermediate school, we can't wait to see you when you come back to school. And they actually also did that with my daughter when she was in pre-K. Her actual teacher came to the house. So what are some of the things that you guys are doing that's working?
Some of those very same things that you've spoken about. Of course, we're wanting to be more proactive instead of reactive in reaching out to our parents. So most of the time what we've asked our teachers to do, and our principals will ask them to do, is to reach out to every child's parent or a significant adult that's in their life that's perhaps raising them, maybe a grandmother, maybe an aunt, maybe the dad and dad alone. But to hear from us on the onset, the note. Some, of course, depending on the children, maybe even, as you said, making a home visit. There have been instances in school districts where, the principal has loaded up all the teachers on the bus to go through the neighborhoods to really let them see where their kids are coming from, the situations, the places in which they live.
Oh, wow.
Many times, because we grow up in a pretty in an environment, I'll just say it like this, where we don't always see where our students come from. But when you really see that really rings home to you of some of the challenges that students come to school with, some of the challenges their parents have. It lets you be a lot more understanding and empathetic to where they're coming from. Other things, I'm sure, like most school districts, of course, Duncanville has employed, we have a community parental liaison that hired particularly for the district to reach out to parents for parental involvement. Most of our elementary campuses have one person designated on their campus hired specifically to be a parental and community liaison, which they engage parents in all the activities that are on the campuses, reaching out, doing reach out. Many times we have difficulty getting a hold of a parent, so those folks are there to assist us in doing some outreach, maybe even making home visits. The traditional things that go on this time of the year, of course, or you're getting the school messages from, on your cell phone, you're getting the emails, all of those kinds of things where we're saying we can't wait to see you, school starts on a certain day. The other things I think that we're really seeing a bigger trend is really having a lot of parent nights and parent engagement nights, where there's not just meet the teacher. We meet the teacher the first day of school or right before the first day of school. We never have an opportunity for them to come back to really see what their child is learning, because many times parents are like, well, wow, I didn't know kids are learning things differently and at a higher rigor than they did many years ago. So all the math nights, the literacy nights, putting them in the evening so parents do have available time if possible. And then we do have some parental involvement days built in. We have a couple of days where we have just open days on our calendar where parents can come, have parent conferences with the teacher, and they can get in there and review their plan, review their report card, et cetera. And we've kind of set those at times when we have grading periods, so if parents have questions, etc. So there are a lot of other things, but those are just a few of them.
So those different curriculum nights, are they well attended? Because I'm going to be honest, we don't really go to those. I know that's bad, but what are good reasons to go? If I'm one of those moms or dads,
good reasons to go is one, your child sees you there. To me, that is probably the biggest reason. That child says, I'm important. My parent took out time to bring me with them, because most of the time we ask you to bring the child. We don't tell you to leave the child at home. We want the child to be there, whether they're showing off a project that they've done in science or whether they're showing a book they've written in their English language arts class. That shows that child this is important. Education is important. You're valuing it. Besides, yes, I'm sending you to school. I'm coming to school with you. That is number one. Number two, it lets you become hooked into what's going on. Many times when kids come home with the homework and parents are like, wow, you want to help them, but you don't really understand. You can really hear from the teachers at that time what we're trying to do, how it is related to real world experiences and expectations. Because
good.
Anytime you have a kid and they'll say, well, we're learning about the solar system, or we're learning about the ecosystem, or we're learning about animals, we're learning about whatever it would be, Shakespeare in high school perhaps. How does that connect back to what we do?
I used to say that all the time.
And that is so critical, because then the parent, because they hear it, they see it. What are we really trying to do with this science project that we've asked your child to build? You can take that back and you can have a discussion about it. You can extend the learning, because it doesn't have to be book learning. It'd be something that's an experience you're taking them to Six Flags, and you've been talking about motion and energy and all of those how does that play in? It really helps to really, I guess for me, I say seal the deal of knowing that it's important in their real life. And then, of course, just keep the lines of communication open. I heard your person that you interviewed about how key that is. Communication is important. They know you know them, and then they'll know that I can call you if I ever have an issue. Sometimes we never have an issue. Sometimes we have many issues, but then I know. I'll use my son's name because his name is Eric. So if Eric is having an issue, then they know they can call Ms. Fields, and Ms. Fields, I know who she is. She knows me, and so then the relationship starts to really become stronger, and it really supports the child's learning.
From a perspective of a teacher and an administrator, how do you feel when when parents are involved and they're starting to get to know you? Because I feel like as a teacher, I know, okay, if I call Susie's mom, something's going to happen, or Susie's mom is invested and cares. So talk to that a little bit.
And I agree wholeheartedly with what you said, because we know that when parents are involved, we know that if I texted you and we're having a problem, I'm using Eric again, that you're going to respond. You're going to answer my call. You're going to say, how can I help? And so that, of course, makes me feel like we're in this together, because we want what's best for the child.
Right.
I have to say this, I'm going to insert this since we're starting school. Teaching is hard work.
Yeah.
It is very difficult. When you take 22, 25, or if you're a high school teacher, 125 minds, then we're trying to really teach. And teaching is not teaching unless there's learning. I must say that as well. And so when we do that, we need all hands on deck. Just as you said, we need the village. We need the parents. We need the staff collectively believing in that child. And then having us working in concert so that we can develop the whole child. I can't minimize that enough. So if I'm teaching and I know I have you to support me, and then in turn you're having an issue, because sometimes family issues are brought to the school,
Oh, that
And
probably all
so,
the time.
yes, they're brought to the school, and we're there to try to see what we can do to help. It's not the reading and writing and the arithmetic at that point. Sometimes something has happened in a family, the family dynamic changes, and so teachers, those are the people. That's why I said teaching is hard. It's just not that. It is really ministering to the entire child. So if we have a relationship, you could call me and say, Ms. Fields, Eric is really, we're having a family issue. Not necessarily that I know what it is,
Right.
but watch him. Make sure he's okay. If he needs to call me, let it. So we know that, and then we're in that together to support the child.
Absolutely. I feel so much more comfortable when I have built a little bit of a rapport with my teacher, because I don't know if it's true, but I feel like they kind of watch out for me.
And they do. That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. Now think about the child who doesn't have that parent.
Right.
And so that's where we come and try to have mentoring programs, and the All Pro Dads, that's a program that Duncanville has, where perhaps maybe mom's absent. We have many children who have parents who are incarcerated, and we have a program really to try to kind of a support group for many of those students. But think about, they don't have that. And so what do? We can't say, well, you don't have anyone, so too bad for you. No, what we're doing is trying to really support that in another area, having one significant person. It may be the coach on campus. It could be another teacher they have a relationship with. So we try to really tailor make it for the child. This is really a one-on-one individual thing in order for the child to be successful.
What are some of the things that teachers and administrators wish we parents understood?
That's a challenging question, because many times, as I've said earlier, that parents think, well, you all are the experts, right? And we have been trained. We have the pedagogy. We know how to teach, what it should look like, what it should feel like, what it should sound like. I think probably if I could speak for administrators and teachers everywhere, and what parents understand is, one, we took the assignment because what we believe about children and what we believe about teaching and learning. And many times parents will say, you don't care about my kid. Y'all just want the money that the state gives you for my child coming to school. It's all about a paycheck and that kind of thing. And of course, yes, we work. That's our livelihood. But I have to say that for us, this is a calling and a ministry that everyone cannot do. It is very difficult.
Amen to that.
It is very hard. You have to be willing to sacrifice, and sometimes teachers and administrators sacrifice a lot of time away from their own families because they believe in what we're doing. I've done this for 40. This start of this school year is my 41st year. I get up every day knowing that a child's life is at stake. Their futures are in our hands. And so if I could just make sure everybody had some magic dust to know that we're here because we believe in children and education. Education is the key. Teaching is the base profession for every profession. And so every parent needs to know we're not here for the paycheck, because believe me,
it's not that great.
Exactly. I don't care where you work. If you're working in whatever kind of school district you're working in, they can never really pay you for all
that you're doing.
Yes.
It's like being a mom. You've seen that, how much you owe your mom.
Exactly. Right. We couldn't total it all up.
Right.
And the people that do it and do it well, I mean, they are in it. They're committed. Come early, stay late, come on the weekends. Sometimes free. They buy school supplies, clothes. They care. And so that's one of the things that I wish every parent understood, that we're here for the child and what's best for the children.
You mentioned they buy school supplies. I don't know what the number is, and maybe you do, how much on average teachers spend on their classrooms. Do you have any idea what that is?
Well, the number kind of fluctuates. When I was teaching, it probably wasn't as high as it is now because school supplies are pretty pricey.
Yeah.
On average, most teachers are going to at least spend the start of the school. I would guess they spend between $50 and $100 just buying extra pencils and folders and notebook paper because we can get it at a reduced price this time of the year. But throughout the year, there are things that teachers will buy that help to supplement.
Right.
And we have so many generous people who support our communities and our community schools where they'll donate, school supplies. Of course, many churches do it, many other faith-based organizations, sororities, fraternities, they have the back to school bash. My daughter's a nurse in a group that she's a part of. That's what they're doing, gathering things, stuff the bus, all those things that go on. But teachers are constantly going in their pockets, thinking about what else do we need for the class, whether it's some specialized type of paper, construction paper, glue. I know when I was a classroom teacher, I was buying scissors hand over fist because something's always happening to those little scissors, right? So I would just buy several pair and I'd have them in ready for the students
out of your own pocket, right? And
exactly.
Teachers are not making very much money, unfortunately, in this country. And so I wanted to mention that something that I saw on social media today, #ClearTheList. So teachers have wish lists on Amazon. And so be on the lookout for teachers in your school and in your district that have Amazon wish lists. And it is our goal to try to clear their lists and get as many items on there. So if you're at the Dollar Tree or Walmart or wherever and you're buying your school supplies for the next couple of weeks, then go ahead and grab an extra package of pencils or pens or notebook paper. Those are some things that are going to be on pretty much every list. And it's only an extra $1 if you're at the Dollar Tree. So
correct.
Could not hurt. So, how should my involvement change as my kids get older? I'll just say, I mentioned at the beginning, it was so much easier when they were elementary school students. I still have 2 elementary school students, but now we have an intermediate student and he's switching classes and has multiple teachers and things like that, and it's become more difficult, especially since he's a little ADD and not very organized. But I know that the involvement probably should change a little bit as they get older, and then kind of how does that dynamic change?
It does change. Of course, everybody remembers their first day of school. That's one of those things that's probably etched in your memory, and how excited you were, how excited your parents were, whether it was in pre-kinder or kinder or first grade, whatever your first day of real school, as they would say, was. And so it does change. I know in elementary schools, as you've alluded to, typically students just have one teacher. They're self-contained.
That's wonderful.
And you know that teacher, they know you. They have the students, of course, as they get a little older, perhaps maybe in about 4th, 5th, or 6th grade, they start to have multiple teachers. They're going to health and physical education. They may be going to art. They may be going to some other type of special science class, etc. They may be getting it pulled out for another special support program. So you have multiple teachers. I think really it does change some, and where the change happens is with the student, more so than it happens with the teacher. All those teachers would love to hear from parents. They'd love to engage you in a conversation. What we try to do when we get there, especially when we get to like middle school, when they have like 7 sections, they change classes 7 or 8 times. Yes. That you can always ask for. Many schools have teaming, where they have teams of teachers where they have a common planning period, where they could have a time where they have a common conference period where perhaps you can meet with all of the teachers at the same time. And if parents really want to be knowing what's going on, I encourage parents to ask for that, where, 3 or 4, the 2 or 3, or as you get in middle school and high school, again, a lot more challenging, because then they're in athletics, they're in band, they're in choir.
Right.
And so I think for all of us, we want to hear from parents, engage with them, whether it's in a one-on-one, whether we have a group of teachers, a team together to talk with you you about your child and the academic progress and any issues that they may be facing, or some accolades they want to share with you. So it does change. I think because you're moving up, it probably takes a little more time to organize it, but it can happen. That doesn't mean and I know many times parents walk in one day and they say, I need to see all of Eric's teachers. And of course, that means that person perhaps may not be prepared. So we like to have a little advance notice so we can make it work. We're not trying to hide anything. We want to make sure everybody is available that you need to talk to. You may not need to talk to the coach because everything's going great in soccer, but you might need to talk with the math, the science, and the English, and maybe another teacher. And so giving the school, whether it's contacting the assistant principal, the principal, or whoever, however it works at your particular school, to set up a time to meet, and they will do that. That's what we're here for, because then they say, wow, we've got the parent here, we've got the 3 teachers or the 6 teachers or however many teachers you need to see together, so we can talk about, well, and you'll hear this, one teacher say, perfect in my class. Right. I don't have any problems. The other person may say, the English teacher, I'm going to pick on the English teachers today, says, well, I can't get him to sit down or her to sit down, right? And so with that, you get a chance to say then, okay, well, what's happening in this class that's not happening there? And so then you can kind of have some dialogue about, he likes to do this or she likes to do this. And so where they sit, the proximity, all those things, you can say, oh, okay, he's distracted by the door, or she doesn't need to sit in the back because she really needs to sit in the front. So it gives you a chance to then kind of see from class to class, from teacher to teacher, from subject to subject. If something is difficult for a child, and you hear, what else can we do? And so not only meeting with you, but then it also gives those teachers an opportunity to dialogue and have a plan put together to support the child.
That's awesome, because what we dealt with was not turning in classwork, which to me, I did not compute, because when I was growing up, if we did something in class, then I turned it in. It just... that just seemed like that made sense. But that was what we were dealing with him. But that's what we should have done, is had a little meeting with all of his teachers and say, okay, what are we missing?
And it could be something as simple as, some teachers use, and I can't think of the term right now, it's almost like a ticket kind of thing, where your ticket to get out is the class, and when the class is getting ready to dismiss, whether it is a reflective thing that they want a kid to answer a question, or it may be the ticket to get out is, where's Eric's paper? And here's Eric's paper, the ticket to get out. And then helping to get organized. That's a whole nother piece.
Whole nother episode.
Yes, of what teachers have to do, because, again, we're teaching the entire child. It's just like if we would just get a cross-section of, of the folks that are in this building. There are people that are more organized than others. And so some people just need some support. So again, that's another thing to talk about with the teacher, of how you can support the child in learning how to become better organized. I remember they don't have these kind of desks too much anymore now, but when I was growing up, they had the desk and everything got stuffed inside the desk, and the child was like, where's the paper? Well, we can't find it
somewhere in
so just the folders, the systems, and those kinds of things are things that parents can really glean a little bit more about how you can help and what the teacher can do to help in order to better serve the child. Right.
And something you said made me think of this, that when you have a meeting with all of the teachers, then you can kind of also get the verbiage and the vocabulary that they use. Like you said, the ticket. I'd not heard of the ticket to get out of the classroom or whatever. So when you're talking to your child and trying to kind of troubleshoot and see what the issues are or hold them accountable, then you can talk to them in their own language, right?
Correct. Or what we've asked people to do is to talk in your language. Many times parents feel intimidated because, of course, no business has acronyms and other specific language and vocabulary greater than education. We have a lot. The only other would probably be the legal system, okay? They have a lot of that as well. And so we really caution our staff members, when you're visiting with a parent, it's not like us having a professional meeting and we're all tuned in. It's like me going sit in on the Texas Rangers coaching staff meeting. I don't have all the lingo and the language and all of that. And so it's foreign. So when parents come, we ask our staff members, don't use the ABCs and the this and the that and the acronyms to really talk about. So when I talked about the ticket, it just sounds like something really mysterious, but it really isn't.
Right.
That's just one of those ways a lot of teachers use for reflection. And when I say reflection, it is what we learned today. What is the one thing you learned today? What is the one thing you want to learn more about? And so they're really engaging and prompting for tomorrow. What are we going to learn tomorrow? We did this experiment today, or we wrote this poem. What is it that you want a response to? You've been reading Robin Hood. What is it that was the one thing that caused Robin Hood to be successful? If you were Robin Hood, what would you do differently? So those little hooks, I guess I would say. So the ticket would be maybe on a sticky note, and you just give it back to the teacher. This is what I would do different if I were Robin Hood. What I would do differently. And so the ticket to get out, again, back to a child who's perhaps having a difficult, maybe is making sure your neighbor has the paper.
Right.
Okay. And not just necessarily the teacher. Just making, kids that are someone's very organized and they have a buddy who's not. So that buddy who's very organized, you can just make it so inconspicuous.
Yeah.
That's the ticket. The teacher doesn't have to say, does Eric have his paper turned in?
Right.
No. The buddy student then can just take it and say, he's got his ticket. And then that's it. So it can be so simple.
We need a buddy.
Yes, that's it. And that many teachers use buddies, particularly for students who sometimes have challenges, of course, with attention problems and that kind of thing, to try to assist them. We all need a little help every now and then, right?
Hey, to the men, absolutely. Let's take a quick break to say that if you have any questions or comments for our guests, give us a call at 214-431-5062. We've got a lot of people listening on Facebook Live. Shout out to y'all. Thanks for listening or watching. I guess you're watching us, huh?
Yes.
What was I going to say? So how do we first do we need to prepare for a parent-teacher conference as parents? And if we do, how should we?
I say yes to preparing for a parent-teacher conference. If it's one that you have scheduled and you've called and said, I want to meet with the whoever, the assistant principal or whoever's going to be leading the conference, just one-on-one with the teacher. Have the questions and the concerns written down. And I say that because you want to be able to get all of your questions and concerns, addressed. Same works with the staff member. If the teacher's having a conference, and because you may have written and said, I'm really concerned about the grades or missing assignments, and then ask the question, what can we do as a parent to help? And so conversely, on the other side with the teacher should be prepared. If you want to talk about grades, they should have that information there. If you want to talk about missing assignments, they should have that information there. That way your time is, used wisely. You're not wasting time. If there are some other issues, sometimes there are social issues where students, you mentioned about bullying earlier, or students having a problem with another student, or there's some issues on the playground and those kinds of things. Well, I still think you need to have that written down. Now, everybody's not a person, they may have it in their mind, they may have it in their phone, I don't care, just so that you'll have those cues to really address what you need to get addressed that day. Teachers have full schedules during the day, and that way you want to make sure that you maximize your time with them, but also they have other duties, as you well know, throughout the day to get back to their students and all of that. So we want to maximize the time, and so that you can get your questions answered. You may not be able to solve it that day, but you can start the plan of what you need to do for that day.
Yeah, and those conferences that they call are very short, so you do need to maximize the time.
Right.
There's been a meme that's been going around for years with the difference between the parents coming up to the school because there's some issue with your child. So back in the day, the parents are mad at the teacher, or the parents are mad at the kid when there's an issue, and then they do a little split screen there. And then to present day, the parents are mad at the kid for whatever is going. I mean, the teacher for whatever going on. I hope I explained that well. But there's been kind of a shift in the way we deal with our children, I think, sometimes. So what kind of things do we need to keep in mind when receiving maybe negative feedback from our child, or about our child from a teacher or an administrator?
Well, first of all, if you've started off having that open dialogue and relationship, you've met the teacher, that right there, just because what I feel some parents have an issue with or take issue with is they don't hear from us until there's an issue.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be an issue every day. And, you know, you may be saying, well, some parents probably say, yeah, there's an issue every day. But it is incumbent upon us to make sure that we open that door so parents know that they can come if there are issues. We caution our staff members, make sure that you're reaching out to parents, because sometimes there are some challenging students that we have in our classrooms. And so, but there's always something good that child brings, no matter what. I know sometimes people say I had to look really deep to find it, but there is something. And many times what we see on the outside is really not who that child is.
Absolutely. They're coming to the classroom with so many issues that have nothing to do with what's going on in the classroom.
Exactly. And the acting out or whatever else is going on, the talking back or in those kinds of things really are just a response to something else that's going on with the child, because we know that they're coming to us bringing many things from their family dynamics, etc., all the things we've talked about.
Inside of them, in their heads.
Exactly.
All
of those things. And so we don't have enough time to talk about that today.
No,
but
a lot of other shows.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But having that open door already is going to be helpful. Parents then will tell us, well, they call me about everything else. And, you know, then they have a sense of, well, I know this, this is a child. They love them.
Yeah.
And so, of course, for us to constantly say, well, he's doing this wrong, or she's not cooperating, or et cetera. So what I would hope when things start to, the first part of the school year, the first month, the kind of honeymoon period, everything's kind of going well. And then we need to have a checkup at that time where the teacher, starts to see then about a month in, 6 weeks, you start to see where there may be some challenges. Don't wait until January to say, I've had him, in whatever they're using, discipline or whatever, in timeout, or he, loss of privileges or whatever they're using. Don't wait until then. And then when the parent comes, they're really upset. And many times they should be, because they haven't heard from us since I sent that letter that said, I'm so glad Eric's going to be in my class. They haven't heard from us.
You've changed your mind about Eric.
Exactly. And so I can see that. What I think is, and there's so much involved in this, because, again, I said teaching is hard. Life for many people is very challenging. And so they love their children and they want what's best for them. And so when it appears, because they personalize it. You're saying I'm a bad parent because my child is misbehaving, or my child's not getting assignments done, or my child's pushed somebody down, or whatever it would be. And so that in turn, because we live in a society now where many times people are offended and they take things very personally, and so they'll say to themselves, what are you saying? I'm a bad mother?
What are you saying about me?
Exactly. What are you saying about me?
Yes,
I really
do
think that is
wow
what we see on many, many occasions. And so if I've not had a relationship with me, I haven't said, hey, we're having some child, I need you, because you're his mom, you're his dad, you're his grandma, you're his Mimi, whoever it is, that then if we've already been having the back and forth, but if we wait, and I know I've been a principal where parents will come and say, I want to see Miss such and such, and I want to see her right now.
I don't care what she's doing.
Exactly. And so, and then of course things, you get into high school, we talk about this. Now everybody has a phone. Everybody has their recording. You're always on mic, all of those kinds of things. And so we're asking people to be cognizant of that. But I really believe, and like I said in my first show when I was here, I'm not an expert on anything. This is just from experience of knowing that. That's the main thing, I think, that people come when they're upset like that and they're mad at the teacher. It's really saying, you say I'm not doing a good job. Mm-hmm. You're saying I don't care for my kid. Or you're saying that I don't want him to be successful, or I want her to have a great life. And so they, in the turn, and then back to again, what kind of experience did you have? Somebody told you.
What baggage are you bringing to this conversation?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you've had a great experience in school, like me, I've been in school since I was 5. And so, love it. Mm-hmm. Everybody doesn't feel that way. So they already have an apprehension about it. And then now you tell me, I'm a bad parent because my child can't learn this, or my child's struggling with this.
Or my child won't sit down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what does that say about? And I really do. I think that's it. And so that's why we have to have the open dialogue constantly, and not wait until we've had it up to here, and then we're ready to say
both sides of the aisle.
Exactly.
The parent and the teacher have had it up to here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of joining together to really say, what can we do? We know, because they'll tell you, oh, he doesn't act like that at home. She doesn't talk back to me at home. Different environment. It's just like what we talk about. There's a way we conduct ourselves at a business meeting versus we're at the ballpark.
Right.
Those are two different ways. If you saw me at the ballpark, you'd be saying, "Is that Miss Fields?"
Right.
Yes,
right. Yes.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
So same thing. The things that they are allowed to do at home, perhaps we don't do at school. And of course, then again, what are you saying? That's not good enough.
Right.
So we really have to talk about how it's different, what we're preparing them for. So.
And I think that what you said at the beginning, we need to have a little faith in that teachers and administrators are not doing this for the money.
No.
Because y'all are not getting rich off of the state of Texas or whatever state you're in by doing this job. You're doing it because this is a calling and a passion that you have. Now, that's not across the board for everybody. We're going to be honest. But
very honest about that.
Yes, but we need to have a little faith that that's what they're doing, and they kind of do have a vested interest in the success of your child.
Correct. Because
teachers are held accountable for their classroom doing well. So it's not just that Timmy, they don't like Timmy.
Right.
It could be that they don't like Timmy, and that's really another issue.
That's another issue.
But what we need to get in our heads before we get to these conferences is that we are all here for the same thing. We want Timmy to do well.
Exactly.
For one reason or another. We want Timmy to do well in my class.
Right.
All right. Well, I mean, that was a big aha. Is we and we need to check our issues with school and check our issues with ourselves at the door. We should not make this a personal thing. The point is, we want Timmy to do well.
Right. We do. We want them to be successful, and you do too.
Mm-hmm.
The path to get there is going to take all of us, excuse me, all of us to be able to do it. And we need you to help us as we move them along, because a lot of times, teachers see things in kids their parents never see. We see the giftedness. We see the talents that they have. We see the writer. We see the musician. We see the person who perhaps will be the one who will really find the cure to cancer. We see that bright mind. And so I have to be honest with you, as you said earlier, is that everyone? We're painting a broad brush here with that. But I can tell you that the majority of the people who get up every morning, get in their cars, and go to the school wherever it is in this great nation, that they are here because they believe in children and what an education means to them.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter, though, is that teachers are human, And what you said was so important, and this is really why we're doing this whole episode, is because we need to, from next week or whenever you guys start school or whenever our kids start school, we need to begin to foster this relationship so that it's not like you said in January where everybody is just about to go to blows.
Right.
And it's really become an issue. Start to build those relationships with your teachers now, just in little ways. We've talked a lot about teachers and administrators. Are there other people in the building that I want to get to know that might be helpful?
Of course, in every school, there are some other key people that are a part of the team that really support teaching and learning. And obviously, we've talked about the administrators, the principals, and assistant principals. The school counselor is a part of that. The school nurse is a part of that. Many campuses, the school secretary is a key person.
Talk about that, please.
Really having a relationship with that person, because they're really the first line, the person at the front, whether it's the clerk. Some schools are big enough they may have a clerk at the front and then a school secretary. Those folks really help us with communication, particularly with parents. Many times parents come in to the building and they need to see someone, leave a message for someone. And listen, they get a chance to really know every child. They know them by name. They see them coming in and out of the offices every day. So they support what we do in a different way. But yet I think many times parents have a really good relationship. They may talk to the secretary or the campus clerk more than they talk to anyone, because they're calling the school, reporting maybe the child's going to be late or they're out ill today, leave a message for the teacher. And so they kind of have I would call that kind of on the fringe of really knowing and being a part of the support. The school counselor is really key to what happens with our students. They're there, of course, not only for support in the academic realm, but also for the social emotional realm. We're in a time now where school counselors, school guidance counselors don't get an opportunity to do as much of that as they probably should. But I do believe that what I'm seeing with a lot of legislations, particularly the last legislative session, really looking at social emotional learning and working with more focused on mental health, that schools are going to be called upon to really strengthen those programs. We've always had that, but we're really trying to get kids more in touch with how they're feeling, how you can appropriately react to when something doesn't go the way you want it to go, when you're disappointed. And so back to the parent, there are, again, family dynamics. Just think about what could have happened these last 2.5-3 months since school let out in May.
Oh, gosh.
A lot of things have happened with families.
Yeah.
They may have lost a grandparent they were very close to, or they may, again, unfortunately, many times, the family dynamic, divorce, a loss of a parent loss based on incarceration. You've moved, you're in a new location, new neighborhood. They're not finding their place with the students, the kids in the neighborhood. There are just all kinds of things that could be going on.
Right.
Maybe a parent has an illness. Maybe the child has a significant illness that has been diagnosed over the summer. So a lot of things like that, the school counselor and the school guidance counselor really can help parents. Back to having that relationship and the open dialogue, being willing to go in and talk to the school counselor and say, hey, we're having an issue with this and we need support. They may need to talk with you, the child being I'm talking about now. Can you talk with them? Can you stay in touch with them, because they lost their grandma, they lost their their pet died. It could be anything that we're thinking, it's insignificant, but it can really impact a child. And so those folks are really, I think now their roles are starting to really line up better with what we hope to, not just to be the person that helps with all the testing, because that's going to go on, but I think we're seeing a lot more of that and a lot more training in it.
And I'll second your emotion about the school counselor. We had some issues and we reached out to the school counselor in one of our kids' schools, and she was phenomenal. And she kept an eye out for him, and she let him know, if you have any issues, come to me and we'll talk through this and work through what some of your feelings are. And so she was a very important part of the school year for him.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time.
Oh, no.
I know, right? I know it flies by, doesn't it?
Oh, it does? Oh, my goodness.
We were just having fun. That's why.
Yes.
Yeah, but thank you so much for coming back. I'm
Thank
sure this
you.
will not be the last time that we see you in our studio. I at least hope not.
I hope not. And thank you very much for having me. Wish everyone out there a fantastic school year.
Yeah, absolutely. We do want to talk about what's going on with Noggin Educational Foundation. This is the last week for the hashtag Bought a Backpack Challenge. So we are adopting the children at a large extended stay motel next to our office, and our goal is to bring them 200 backpacks this Saturday to start their year off right. So we challenge you to take the hashtag Bought a Backpack social media challenge, and it's easy. We're going to make it even easier since we have so little time left in the week, and say that you can donate by ordering from our Amazon wish list. So to donate your backpack or backpacks, which we hope you will do, go to schooldaysedshow.com and click on the link hashtag Bought a Backpack. Also, we want you to save the date for 9/19/19. North Texas Giving Day is an 18-hour online giving event designed to empower every person to give back to their community by supporting North Texas nonprofits and causes that they care about. So each year we receive support from cities all over the U.S., we at Noggin, and because of North Texas Giving Day, or because of our School Days listeners, we're really hoping that we'll receive support from all over the globe because we have listeners all over the world. So Noggin Foundation uses the money collected from North Texas Giving Day to fund our free tutoring program. This year we'll be able to give this year we have already been able to give 13 students free tutoring because of North Texas Giving Day, and we already right now have 6 students on the waiting list, and we want to make room for about 15 more. So this year we need about 334 people to give $30. We want to keep you guys posted about the progress, and so we will definitely do that. And you can schedule your giving starting on September 9th, and North Texas Giving Day is on September 19th, and that happens to be my birthday. So I will mention this more as we get closer, and we'll have details, of course, on our website. Just wanted to put a bug in your ear about that. So next week, we'll sit down with mother-daughter duo. Karen Thomas is a professor at SMU, and her daughter, Brooke Watson, is going to be a sophomore at Spelman College. They're planning on talking to us about what to expect your freshman year in college. So make sure you share with your parent friends about what's going on next week on our show. As always, head to our website, schooldayshow.com, for more information. And remember, you don't ever have to miss a show. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, and pretty much anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Noggin Foundation. That's Noggin. And do you YouTube? You can find episodes of School Days and other videos featuring the fun educational programs we offer on our YouTube channel. That's Noggin Educational Foundation that you're going to search for. And last but not least, we always want to end the show by saying that David and I are parenting by grace. We depend on God to give us the wisdom and strength we need to raise our kids into flourishing adults. And if you would like to know more about that, feel free to email me at info@schooldaysedshow.com. Have a great week.
School Days is sponsored by Noggin Educational Foundation. At Noggin, we provide free educational resources to students from low-income families and support to their parents like the preceding broadcast. School Days is made possible by the generosity of listeners just like you. Please consider donating to Noggin at Noggin, Noggin, foundation.org.
Hey, this is Theo Barnes. Catch my show, The Theo Barnes Real Estate Show, every Monday from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. On my show, you'll be able to hear reliable real estate